day has arrived. It's a beautiful day.
Champagne's flowing.
I think Sun International have aced it.
This day's been absolutely amazing.
It's so much more premium than it used to be.
Essentially, every horse is supposed to have an equal chance of winning. In reality, that isn't always the case. But what is certainly apt is the fact that the best horse doesn't always necessarily win the race. That isn't the situation as far as weight for age is concerned. These kind of races essentially are for the benefit of the better horses. The cream should rise to the top.
This is probably the heavyweight championship, much like the Cox Plate.
Well, there wasn't in fact a Group 1, an open Group 1 over 2,000 meters at weight for age in this country, which is essentially why I was one of the people who promoted this. You touched on the Queen's Plate. The Queen's Plate is a prime example of the cream rising to the top. It's the who's who of racing. Only champions win the Queen's Plate. And hopefully that will now be the situation. We want the best to be there, and we want the best horses to win.
Well, there is no doubt that the best horse in the race is Legal Eagle as a dual horse of the year. He's on a 123. He's 5 pounds superior to both Captain America and Marinaresco, who he's beaten convincingly on just about every occasion that they've met. And then there's a 117 in Sale South, and the rest are woefully, so to speak, out at the weights.
Yes and no, Andrew, because the 123 that Legal Eagle has, that rating was actually attained over a mile. He was beaten last year in the Met by Whiskey Baron. He was beaten the year before by Smart Call. Is he effective over 2,000 meters? Sure. Won the Derby over 24.50, but he's definitely better over a mile. So I think one should be a little bit wary of that rating. It's not as though he's 5 pounds superior to the next horse in this race. It's a lot closer than that. If you look at Marinaresco, he's had a fantastic prep, a very good sprint over 1,200, an eye-catching finish in the Queen's Plate. I don't think he had as hard a race as some of the other horses possibly would have had. And he's won a Group 1 over 2,000 meters, and he's more effective over this trip than Legal Eagle. So he's got to be a massive runner.
The most important thing for me, besides form, is the way they move. And he has been moving to the start a lot better than he did when he went to the start for the Champions Cup, for example, where he ran woefully and was won in a common canter by Sale South, with Captain America holding no candle to Sale South on that day, which was quite strange in a way on their previous meetings.
Look, I think the secret with Captain America, again, another horse who's arguably better over a mile, but he's one of the gamest horses in training. He doesn't know how to run a bad race. Finished third last year, third the year before. He's bound to be, in the finish yet again. I think in the Queen's Plate that if It Is Written hadn't gone up there and sort of tried to cut throats with him, that he probably would have won that race. I don't think if you remove It Is Written, Legal Eagle might have found it very difficult to have made up those 3 or 4 lengths on him. And I think the question on Saturday is how the race is going to be run. If you allow Captain America a soft lead, you might be in trouble. Legal Eagle from a 15 draw, what is Anton Marcus going to do? Is he going to give him a chance, or is he going to go up there? Knowing Anton and his style of riding, I think Legal Eagle's going to go right up there. I wouldn't be surprised to see him sit in second behind Captain America. The question is Marinaresco. Last year he sat too far back. Is he going to be able to run Legal Eagle out of it in the closing stages? Because certainly he's got a stronger finish, in my opinion, over that trip than Legal Eagle.
Okay, so the first horse outside of Marinaresco, Captain America, Sale South, and Legal Eagle that comes to mind is a filly called Another Russia. On her performance at Turffontein, when she was beaten head-to-head by both Dio Givente and Legal Eagle himself. A hugely meritorious performance, perhaps a little lackluster in the Paddock Stakes, where she only got going late.
I don't know, Andrew. I draw a line through that race with Dio Givente. Firstly, that race was a conditions race. Another Russia's now worse off at the weights. I think possibly off the top of my head, she might have had 55.5, and she's now 2 kilos, 4 pounds worse off at the weights with Legal Eagle. So I just can't see her finishing in front of Legal Eagle, and Dio Givente just hasn't gone on at all. So I think that form is pretty suspect.
All right. Well, let's take the Paddock Stakes on face value. She gets beaten 2.5, 2.8 lengths by O Susanna, who's for the first time got a good draw, and she could be anything. So theoretically, there couldn't really be too much between O Susanna and Another Russia over 10 furlongs.
You would think that O Susanna would have a measure again, but again, let's ask ourselves, why is O Susanna actually in the Met? She's there because they clearly didn't want to run against the stable companion Snowdance in the Majorca. And Snowdance slapped her up. So 3 Old Filly winning the Met. The handicappers have rated her a 108, the equal of Snowdance. That's impossible. It just can't be. I'm not saying she's not a 108, but Snowdance then must be a 116, which she probably will be after the Majorca. So I know the connections are very confident about a massive run. Grant van Niekerk said to me he thinks she'll win. I know the Snates are very bullish. I can't see it.
Well, on that subject, they've got a lot of firepower in the race. They've obviously got a horse that's won the Triple Crown, which is the same as Pocket Power. They've got a horse that finished with a huge rattle in the Lormerance Queen's Plate. And, you know, Crambambuli's run in the Vodacom Durban July was definitely not sloppy.
Yeah, look, I think Crambambuli, what you see is what you get. I don't see him winning a weight for age contest. I really don't. African Night Sky, the Triple Crown was awfully impressive. First horse since Pocket Power. This is his third run after arrest. I don't think he had an ideal prep going into the Queen's Plate. The Jetmaster Stakes was moved, and there was another race that the Snates were hoping to have put on the day, which didn't happen. But again, we come down to the weight for age contest. He's only rated a 102. So strictly speaking, firstly, do you think he's a 102? I don't. I think he's far better than a 102. But at his current rating, you'll find it very difficult to fancy him. He wasn't that far back in the Queen's Plate, under 3 lengths. I certainly don't think he'll disgrace himself, but it's hard to envisage him winning.
Well, the horse that's got the most scope for improvement, other than O Susanna, has to be Last Winter. And Dean Caname would never put this horse in the race on a 107 if he didn't think he was equal to the task. And he's a horse that's never really been asked too much. Maybe the run to Milton will give people some kind of an argument, but he obviously didn't get punished to get beaten a short head by Milton.
Well, you've been very polite, Andrew. I'm a big fan of Anthony Delpeche. I don't think he shone on the day. I think he sat too far back and he never hit the horse once with a stick. So I believe the horse should still be unbeaten. Is he a 107? No. I think he's another horse that's under the radar. And he should be unbeaten going into this race. Weight for age terms, he's got a bit to find. But he is the unknown, isn't he? He's the dark horse of the race. 20 draw, what is Piers Strydom going to do from a 20 draw? I don't think it's too bad to run wide. I've never been, it's never been a big deal to me, a bad draw at Kenilworth, long straight, 2,000 metres. They start at the top of the tour. Doesn't bother me at all. I'm just posing the question as to what Strydom's going to do. Is he going to drop him in or is he going to go up there? I think he'll probably try and place the horse. But as I say, I don't think it's a train smash if he's caught 3 wide. But he could be the big improver in the race, definitely.
Yeah, interestingly enough, speaking to Dees Dynant this morning, he says the one thing about Last Winter, he's got gate speed to burn.
I don't think Dean Canama is one of those guys who likes his horses to go up to the front. That's not his style. He likes his horses to be given a chance. But is Strydom going to listen to Dean? I doubt it. I would think that he is going to try and place the horse and he should be up there.
Okay, Safe Harbour on a line through the form of the Paddock Stakes and races in Johannesburg. Sean said that her Vodacom Durban July was an absolute shocker. You can throw that away. But she's high class, had a very busy season last year. Has she got any chance of running in the money?
0.
The other horse that may get in the way is a horse that I know you like, but over a completely different distance. And I'm referring to the inmate from the Glen Pulleyard.
I love Silicon Valley. I mean, for a cripple, he's just fantastic. He's got a superb turn of foot. But to me, he's an out-and-out sprinter. I know he's run well over 7 furlong and a mile. This is really pushing it for the poor horse. So, no, not for me.
And Nebula, he's won back-to-back Algoa Cups, but he just seems to fluff it when he's asked the big question.
Yeah, this isn't PE. This isn't back-to-back Algoa Cups now. The one horse you haven't touched on, Andrew, of course, from the Queen's Plate is Copper Force. But he got an £8 penalty for a race where he was the decidedly unlucky horse in the race, didn't get a clear run. By Royal Air Force, you'd think, oh, he'll get the trip. I'm not convinced he'll get the trip. He seems pretty in and out. He's run once before over this distance in the Daily News, beaten just around about 5 lengths by Edict of Nantes. I'd be very surprised if at weight for age terms he can produce the same run as the Queen's Plate.
And then finally, the horse that was in the Met last year ran a very commendable race, but he doesn't seem to be moving as smoothly as he did this time last year, and I refer to the entire Gold Standard, the son of Trippy.
Yeah, he doesn't seem to be the same horse, Andrew, since his injury. Ran a cracking race last year. I mean, the form's worked out fantastically with Legal Eagle and Captain America in front of him. But I haven't been overly impressed with him. He hasn't disgraced himself in his few runs, but he hasn't done enough to show that he can actually reverse with some of the other horses that have beaten him previously.
So the beauty of this race is that there's ample opportunity to take stock and build yourself a book and take doubles and trebles and all the rest of it. How's Robert Bloomberg's book looking at the moment?
I really haven't got a big book, Andrew, because to me it's just another race. So, you know, I think there was a lot of uncertainty over the unfortunate happenings with Marcus Joost and Steinhoff, where the betting was suspended and put on hold for a period of time. Nobody knew what was going to happen with the Edict of Nantes and Legal Eagle. As we now know, Edict of Nantes was on sold to Hong Kong and won't be taking his place. He would definitely have been my strong fancy for this race, undoubtedly. So I haven't really gone ahead and formed any kind of a book. But to me, I think that the top two as a weight for age contest, being Legal Eagle and Marinaresco, should fight out the finish. I would favour Marinaresco slightly by virtue of the fact that, in my opinion, he's a better horse over 10 furlong, whereas Legal Eagle is undoubtedly a better miler. I would think that those two would fight it out. If you're looking from a place perspective, I think the stable companions, Captain America, is currently around 16-20 to 1, and Sail South, who's around about 33 to 1. They represent excellent value to finish in the money, because you know that with both horses you'll get a run for your money. And then Last Winter is the dark horse of the race. He really could be far better than his current rating of 107.
Robbie Sage's horse, Coral Fever, he's run some really, really good races in Johannesburg, and he deserves his place in the race for his consistency. And what do you think about his chances?
I think that Robbie Sage is obviously here for the good Cape, wine, food, and the magnificent weather. Can't be anything else.
We haven't touched on the best-looking horse in the race, in Horizon. We haven't touched on Nightingale, who fluffed her lines with good cause in the Paddock Stakes. And then, of course, Ken Truter's Elusive Silver, who's a smart horse in his day, but comes back from an injury he sustained in the Vodacom Durban July Gallops.
Horizon, Andrew, was probably, to me, the run of the race in the Durban July. Hasn't produced it since then. I do think he's got issues, so I hear. And I can't see him finishing ahead of Last Winter based on their run behind Milton. Elusive Silver, I think this is his second run after 7 months after a tendon injury, and a really poor prep through no fault of the trainer. It's just a fact leading into this race. No, not for me. Nightingale, well held by O Susanna, 11-12 lengths behind her last time. And also another filly that showed tremendous promise and a cracking run in the Durban July as well. Also hasn't produced it since then.
So what's her best trip?
Nightingale?
Yeah.
Well, that's could be anything from 1,600 to 2,000 meters. She's equally adept at anything in between.
Stays lean, absolutely amazing.
It's so much more premium than it used to be.
I must say it's got a little bit more class.
So you live, you laugh, it's absolutely amazing.